So now jumping right into the presentation, Facebook 101. So let me give you guys an idea of how this will flow. We're going to dissect each one of these social networks. We're going to tell you why it's important you be there, and then we're going to give you some tips and tricks and things to how you can get involved as a small business owner or manager. So Facebook, we've all heard this word. Either we're there or we know someone who is. By and large, it's the world's, or without a doubt, it's the world's largest social network. You know, think in terms of word-of-mouth marketing. This is really what all social media is about. Facebook makes it super easy to connect with past and current connections. In this realm, it's more about friends than necessarily business connections. However, you'll find friends of friends that you've dealt with in the past through business dealings. That's a good way to make friends on Facebook with these guys. One of the first things you want to do is you want to connect and you want to share. So creating yourself a profile, creating your business a fan page, and then sharing your story, again, is a great way to get your name out there. The second thing you want to do is leverage both your personal contacts and your business contacts to build a following. The third thing is you want to focus on endorsements and complaints. From an endorsements perspective, always make sure you say thank you. And if there are complaints about the products or services you're delivering, you want to make sure you address those in a timely and professional manner. Last but not least, Facebook is a great place to share information, ideas, and even offers that you may have. Say you have a new fall line coming in and you want to give a 25% discount. It's a great place to do it, is on your Facebook wall. You'll generate a lot of business that way if you spent the time cultivating your connections. So exactly why do we care about Facebook? Bottom line is this is behavioral analysis at its best. Facebook has the broadest reach. You can see all kind of human behavior patterns in the way that people use Facebook. And the bottom line is there's not a major brand, and there's very few local businesses at this point that don't in some way, shape, or form either use Facebook personally or use it from a business perspective. So if Facebook were a country, Facebook would be absolutely the largest country in the world. There's 1 out of 7 people in the entire world's population that are on Facebook at this point. It's gotten so bad, or good, depending on which side of the coin you're on, that people are becoming addicted to checking their Facebook feeds. When you think about that, if there's almost a seventh of the world's population on Facebook, 1.1 trillion likes is a ton of likes per person. You know, you think about that; those are just quick little clicks to promote a business, a saying, a thought, an idea, what have you. So when we look at the time that Americans spend on Facebook, or you know, just in general on social networks, you'll see that Facebook and Pinterest, by and large, are ranking the highest from a total spend perspective. It's because the content's a little richer and a little more visual on these networks. By and large, Facebook being the largest, the total time spent there is head and shoulders above the rest. But as you can tell, things like Pinterest and Twitter, they're quickly gaining on Facebook. As their user base grows, the level of adoption grows, the more and more time that people are spending on these networks. So exactly how do we use Facebook for our small business? We mentioned this before, but now we'll go into a bit more detail. So the first thing you want to do is you want to build your page and make it custom. You know, don't slack here. The second thing you want to do is you want to connect with people. I would start with my friends and family and then move into customers. The last thing you want to do is invite your customers when you don't have any friends on Facebook. They're going to think you're either lonely or you're crazy. The third thing you'd want to do is engage with your audience. You know, interact, serve, and give of yourself. Now, those last two are very important. If you're not serving your constituency, then you're really not doing what you're supposed to on the social network. It's all about what you're doing for them, and in turn, good things will come. The fourth thing is you want to influence your friends of fans. And so what you can do by doing this is you can be different. You can differentiate your business for providing some kind of value that folks in your area aren't necessarily providing on Facebook. So now as we dig a little bit deeper, how do we build our page? When we look at building the page, having high-quality images, logos, all that fun stuff is important. You want to make sure your contact information is correct. You want to make sure your bio is up to date. There has to be some value proposition or differentiators that make people want to shop with you. Again, it's service first, and you got to focus on quality always. When connecting with people, I think it's most important probably to pick on your family first and get them to join your network. You know, from there, extend to friends, and then once you have a decent base, solicit customers. You want to make sure your URLs are displayed correctly, and you can display those whether they're in your brick and mortar facility or any kind of email that you may be sending out. You can also ask your patrons, so if you're a restaurant and you have folks coming in there, you can ask them to join your Facebook feed just by simply giving out, maybe giving out a little discount and or just being cordial. Last but not least, there are tools inside of Facebook now where you can actually promote yourself and extend beyond this network of friends, family, and customers. There's a little cost associated with that, but it's nominal compared to what you would spend from a print perspective. So when we're engaging folks, exactly what do we do here? You want to give value, and you want to make sure the information that you're giving is on par and accurate, as well as it is valuable to the people when they need it. So there's a timing aspect. You want to make sure you ask questions. Solicit people's opinions. It's always good to know how you're doing, even if it's out in broad view. Respond to both the good and the bad. It's important to say thank you, but it's even more important to address complaints directly and professionally as soon as they occur. The bottom line, and above all, you have to listen to what people are saying. And when you hear comments about your business, even if they are bad, take action. And make sure that when you're taking action, you're doing some kind of reach back to these folks to make sure their situation is resolved. The last piece is in being engaging, and we'll get to this in a moment, is you have to be habitual. This is not something you can start up and do well for a couple months and then go away and come back a couple months later. You have to set some time aside in your week, not necessarily your day, to make sure that you're going through and you're interacting with your patrons and your followers. Now, how do we become influential? There's a number of ways you can do this. You can ask for folks that you trust to share your content. You can do sponsored posts, as we meant before, and you can even place ads on Facebook these days. You can use things like social events that may either be physical, maybe it's a Facebook party at your restaurant, or maybe it's a virtual event, say if you're some kind of consulting services provider like a CPA. You need to be an expert in your area. There's a reason why you're in business, and it's obviously because of the level of care that you provide as well as your expertise. So you can combine those two things and you can show real value to your clients. The most important thing that you can do above all else, though, is give of yourself. If people see that you're honest and trustworthy and you're giving of yourself, they'll take hold, and more than likely they're going to tell others about you. So as you can see, I mean, we're doing this on Facebook, but it's really no different than how you would have grown your business in the past. So before we leave Facebook and before we turn it over to Tamara, I want to just reiterate: build your page, make sure you have all the custom stuff, make sure you're connecting with folks, you're engaging your audience, and you're influencing others. But more times than not, you have to keep coming back. So you have to repeat this cycle. The minute that you stop repeating the cycle is when people stop coming. So just make sure you're habitual and make sure you're coming back and delivering value, and everything else will take care of itself.